A US software company reports that its AI program is working. Support tickets move faster. Sales teams produce more account material. Finance reviews more contracts with the same headcount. Engineering clears routine work with fewer handoffs. Every operating signal improves. Then the quarter closes. The margin line barely moves. Output has scaled. Profit has not. The company has more capacity, but not yet more leverage. That gap is the economic problem. Operating leverage is the margin promise that makes AI attractive. If revenue keeps rising while operating, expense grows more slowly, more income should pass through to profit. The business starts to look structurally scalable. But AI does not automatically create operating leverage. It first changes where the burden lives. A visible labor expense can become an invisible systems expense. A departmental productivity gain can become a company-wide coordination cost. Lower staffing needs can be offset by infrastructure, monitoring, integration, vendor commitments, and exception handling. The work becomes faster. The cost base does not necessarily become lighter. Operating leverage is not measured by task speed. It is measured by whether each additional dollar of revenue requires less incremental operating cost after the full system is included. Many AI programs pass the productivity test before they pass the margin test. The improvement is real. The margin has not claimed it yet. A simple relationship sketch clarifies the issue. Picture revenue as one rising line and traditional operating cost as a second line, rising more slowly because AI absorbs part of the incremental workload. The widening space between them is operating leverage. Now add a third line beneath the surface. AI infrastructure, workflow redesign, supervision, maintenance, and exception handling. If that third line stays thin, leverage expands. If it thickens with volume and complexity, the space narrows again. The advantage holds only when revenue rises faster than the full AI operating layer. Early AI economics often appear cleaner than scaled economics. At pilot level, the system replaces a visible piece of work. At operating level, it must interact with legacy systems, fragmented data, controls, customer expectations, and escalation paths. The pilot proves that a task can be compressed. It does not prove that the operating model has become cheaper. In US enterprises, layered software estates, fragmented data ownership, quarterly expense scrutiny, and high pilot volume often move the cost outside the department claiming the gain. The use case looks local. The burden becomes distributed. AI improves operating leverage most clearly when it supports high-volume processes with stable demand, repeatable decisions, low exception rates, and dense utilization. The narrower those conditions, the narrower the leverage. Utilization becomes financial, not technical. A system used constantly across a large revenue base can dilute its fixed burden. A system used unevenly carries cost before it carries enough volume. The same tool can look efficient in activity metrics and weak in margin behavior. During transition, old and new cost bases overlap. The company still carries legacy systems, existing staff, integration teams, and review work. Automation can raise operating expense before it lowers it. Avoided hiring is not current margin expansion. The benefit exists, but it is trapped in the counterfactual. That counterfactual is difficult to monetize inside a quarterly business. Finance can model avoided headcount, but the income statement records actual spending. If revenue does not rise, if legacy cost remains, Or if AI spend grows faster than avoided labor, the margin effect stays muted. The operating story improves before the financial statement confirms it. AI-enabled leverage is also vulnerable to competitive repricing. When many firms automate the same layer, customers often expect faster service, broader output, or lower prices as the new baseline. The internal cost advantage does not always stay internal. The firm lowers cost. The market asks for part of the savings. Margin expands only if pricing power holds. Internal leverage and economic leverage are different. The company may process more volume without proportional expense growth, yet lose part of the gain to procurement pressure, competitive imitation, and customer expectations. A company can achieve the first and miss the second. This is the compression point. AI can reduce incremental labor, but it can also add fixed system cost, require oversight, and invite competitive price adjustment. Operating leverage expands only when revenue growth outruns the AI cost layer, the oversight burden, and market repricing. The model becomes clearer and less forgiving. AI can also make a business more scalable upward while making it less flexible downward. Platform contracts, cloud commitments, monitoring systems, data dependencies, and embedded workflow ownership expand faster than they contract. What looks variable at the usage layer can behave like fixed cost at the operating layer. Utilization becomes a margin condition. That matters when demand softens. Some labor expense can be adjusted. An embedded AI operating layer may remain because products, workflows, customer promises, and internal controls now depend on it. The system scales capacity. It also hardens cost. A sustainable AI-enabled business removes real operating cost rather than raising output expectations. AI spend replaces expense rather than adding a parallel layer. Demand carries the fixed burden. Pricing holds after competitors respond. The business becomes simpler as volume grows, not more expensive to coordinate. Each condition narrows the headline advantage. Capacity means the business can do more. Leverage means it can do more while a larger share of revenue turns into profit. AI often improves the first before proving the second. The earlier sketch returns here. Revenue rises. Traditional operating cost rises more slowly. But the hidden AI layer determines whether the gap widens or narrows. This is the central reality. AI can make growth less labor-dependent and increase throughput when processes are repeatable and demand is dense. Margin expansion remains conditional. It requires controlled infrastructure cost, visible cost retirement, sustained utilization, and pricing power. There is no automatic leverage. There is only leverage that survives the full cost base. AI does not create operating leverage because work moves faster. It creates leverage only when faster work changes expense behavior, absorbs more revenue through the same operating structure, and leaves enough pricing power for the gain to remain inside the firm. Otherwise, the business has not become economically lighter. It has only made its cost base more automated.